Hi, Malik. I wanted to give you your final feedback. I'm glad you were able to get your link to work. That's awesome. This is a fascinating image. Looks good with your site and the gray, the color's working. You might want to center your social icons with your copyright. We are getting near the end of the year. If you wanted to, since you're going to need to go back into your site soon, I would go ahead and make that 2026. I think it's time to start doing that. I think we probably want this over here a little bit, up here, and have this centered if you're going to have this here. And lay that out a little differently. I kind of want to see a capital here, but I'm going to leave that to you. If this is capitalized, you could go ahead and cap that just for consistency here. Let's take a look at the functionality. Okay. All right. Usually you would blur out the Sony or any other logos, just letting you know that. This font, we talked about it before, it's a little small, but that's really not the issue there so much. I would go probably to 18 on your site, and I would check the kerning here. Your tracking. This is spread out a little bit, and so you want to make sure we don't have quite so much space between letters and words, all right? So that's what's giving it kind of a different look. And I realize that's going to make your gutter here a little wider, but it makes it choppy, right? A little hard to read when it's this way. Okay. You may want this space out. We'll see what is going on when we look at your mobile. Here, I think what would be best, if we go here, you have this here and that is fine, but I would make this a separate container, right? Not the header. I wouldn't put it in the header because it's a little much in some places. It's not too bad here, but once we get here, there's a lot of stacking going on before we get to your actual content that we need. Make sure you're using caps for I and capitalizations. This, I like what you're telling me here. Obviously, it would be down here with your descriptions, and you would have a description for each. But here, I wouldn't have that. So if you just delete it, it's not going to be on any page because you have it in your header. And your header is a little deep, right? So you really won't get into content very quickly because of how deep this is. So I would take this out. If you want to put it on your home page above the content, that would work. Okay. So let's be consistent about where we start. Okay, so let's bring this up here. If you're going to do it that way, if you're going to have this centered like that, then you would do that everywhere. Here you have something starting with an indent. You have an indent here. It's not exactly the same. It should be. And here you just have a space here, but you don't have the indent. So just a little bit of consistency. You've got just the right amount of content. Basically, you do need some here, but it's not overwhelming, and that's really great. So that's you've got going for you. Make sure that that's a Google Voice number and not your personal number. Let's try to have this probably either do a line break here so it's over here. In your case, you may want that centered, the contact me, but you'll want to take this space out. I don't think you want to bring this up here. You could, but you could try that, bringing this up here or bringing this down here. Let's remove this Vimeo. It's not linking to anything. It's the Wix template, so let's take that out. You may want these down here too. All right, let's take a look at the mobile. All right, definitely want to look at this again. Check it out after you make that edit with this, and it looks like it'll have to be resized, and obviously the text boundary box. Okay. Make that a cap, and this. Yeah, so the mobile needs some layout help there. Also, this will need to be separated so that it is next to the content that it's discussing. So yeah, and you're going to have that centered. So yeah, you definitely want to take a look at your mobile. Yeah, and here's the thing with having a really deep header. If someone is clicking around, to them it doesn't look like the page has changed because they have to scroll before they see the change. So we try not to keep them too deep. This is working. You do want that to be caps and center that. Probably don't need this twice on this page. I would probably just put them in the footer and not have them here on your mobile or here on your mobile. All right. All right, and you're going to close up these spaces. Okay, I hope that's helpful. Make sure you make those changes before you ever launch your website if you should decide to purchase and have your own site. You could also practice with things like Squarespace and WordPress from here. Now that you've practiced, with layout and understand some of the caveats. Hopefully that answered some of your questions. And I hope you're having a great new month. All right. Thanks, Malik.